Chosen one, listen closely. Something is stirring around you in this very moment, something heaven has been waiting for. The angels have leaned in, their attention fixed on you, because your spirit just made a shift they did not expect. You may think you are only listening for a moment, but heaven sees a decision rising inside you, a decision that carries more weight than you realize. You are not like the rest. You were never meant to blend into the noise. And right now, the atmosphere recognizes your awakening. For so long, you have walked through storms that tried to swallow your identity. You've been tested by people who misunderstood your purpose. You've carried the heaviness of silent battles, the ones no one ever saw. And yet, in all of that pressure, something in you would not break. That alone has already startled the angels, because many would have fallen. But you kept searching for the voice of God even when the world pulled you in every direction. Heaven speaks clearly through the ancient words recorded in Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. That truth has been hovering over your life, even when you felt abandoned, even when you thought heaven was silent. The angels have watched you wrestle with doubt, fear, and spiritual weariness. They saw when the enemy tried to suffocate your hope. They saw when darkness whispered that your calling no longer mattered. They saw every tear you refused to let fall. And yet today you made a choice the angels did not expect. Instead of drifting deeper into distraction, you paused. Instead of ignoring the nudge in your spirit, you leaned in. Instead of shutting down, you opened your heart, if only a little. That tiny shift sent a tremor through the spiritual realm. Because the enemy counted on your silence, he counted on your exhaustion. He counted on you becoming numb, but you shocked him in heaven when something inside you whispered, "I'm not done. Chosen one, this moment right here is not random. Heaven has been trying to reach you, and your spirit finally turned toward the light again. You need to understand how powerful that is. The entire spiritual realm reacts when someone truly chosen makes even one small movement toward their calling. Your decision to stay, to listen, to not scroll away, this is not casual. It is spiritual warfare. And for the first time in a long time, your spirit is pushing back. That is why your chest feels tight. That is why your thoughts feel sharper. That is why your atmosphere feels different. You are being called to attention. And the angels, they are watching you with awe, because they recognize what is awakening inside you. They recognize the calling the enemy tried so hard to bury. They recognize the shift in authority. The light within you is rising again, and every force of darkness feels it. So I must speak directly and without hesitation. Do not run from this moment. Do not let fear shut you down. Do not let distraction pull you away. You are standing at the edge of a spiritual turning point, and what you choose next will echo through the realm that watches you. If your spirit is responding and you know it is, then take a simple but prophetic step of alignment. Like this message, share it, and subscribe. Do it as an act of saying, I choose clarity, I choose awakening, I choose the call on my life. And as a final seal on this first step, comment the prophetic number 777, a number that marks divine completion and heavenly alignment. Your comment is not for the algorithm. It is your declaration in the spiritual realm that you choose the path heaven has been waiting for you to take. You feel the shift growing stronger, as if heaven itself breathes around you, reminding you that your choice today opens doors no darkness can close. This is your moment of becoming. Angels continue watching, astonished by the courage rising inside you, a courage you forgot you carried. Yet heaven never forgot. Your spirit is stepping back into alignment. Every silent wound, every broken night, every prayer whispered in exhaustion now transforms into strength. Your choice has initiated a spiritual reversal that cannot be undone by any enemy. Stand firm now, chosen one. The realm around you adjusts to your awakening, and the path ahead begins to clear. What felt impossible yesterday becomes reachable because your spirit said yes. The veil begins to tremble around you. Chosen one. What is happening inside you is not ordinary, and heaven knows it. The angels who witnessed your unexpected turn in Section 1 now observe the spiritual atmosphere shifting because of the alignment forming within your spirit. This trembling is not fear, not confusion, not chaos. It is revelation pressing against the edges of your awareness. Something long hidden is preparing to step into the light. You have lived through seasons where the invisible felt heavier than the visible. Times when you woke up with battles you had no name for. Moments when your spirit suddenly felt pulled, drained, or alert without explanation. These were never random feelings. They were spiritual reactions to unseen forces woven into your journey. Even when you didn't recognize it, your life existed in the tension between realms. As the veil trembles now, you begin to sense what heaven has always known. Your life has carried spiritual weight from the beginning. This is why your storms felt different. This is why your losses shook you deeply. This is why your breakthroughs always came with resistance. The enemy recognized your identity long before you did. For years he worked to distract, numb, confuse, and suffocate the sensitivity God placed in you as a divine gift. But even in seasons where you slipped into silence or spiritual exhaustion, the inner flame within you never died. It dimmed, but it did not extinguish. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 33, verse 3. Call to me and I will answer you and show you great and unsearchable things you do not know. These words now rise around your journey with fresh clarity. Not ancient, not distant, but active, alive, breathing into this very moment of your awakening. You did not realize how fiercely protected you were. You did not see the battles the angels fought on your behalf. You did not feel the dangers that never reached you. But now, as the veil shakes, you sense the truth. You were guarded even when you felt abandoned. You were guided even when you felt lost. You were seen even when you felt invisible. The angels assigned to your story watched every season you endured. They saw every tear you hid. They saw every moment your strength slipped. They saw every silent breaking point you survived. They also saw what darkness hoped you would never rediscover: your awakening. That spark inside you, the one that refused to die, is now becoming a tremor. That tremor shakes the veil, and that shaking announces to heaven that something in you is rising again. You may not understand what's happening, but your spirit does. It recognizes the shift. It senses the magnitude of this moment. It feels truth pressing into the edges of your awareness. And that sensation is not imagination, it is spiritual recognition. Because before the veil lifts, it trembles. Before revelation arrives, the atmosphere changes. Before destiny resurfaces, heaven adjusts the realm around you. Your past makes more sense now. The battles that felt too heavy. The people who suddenly left. The opportunities that collapsed at the last moment. All of these were not random. They were divine redirections and spiritual protections. What you thought were losses were actually interventions. What looked like delays were preparations. What felt like isolation was preservation. The veil trembles now because heaven is ready to reveal what you are finally aligned enough to receive. It trembles because the angels see your awareness returning. It trembles because your destiny is no longer dormant. This is the moment the unseen becomes undeniable. This is the beginning of clarity. This is the sound of the realm beyond the natural preparing to open before you. And the trembling of the veil is only the beginning. You feel the atmosphere tightening around you, not to intimidate you, but to prepare you. What once felt distant now feels near, brushing against your awareness like a whisper from another realm. Your spirit is adjusting to a frequency you had forgotten. There is a pull forming inside you, a gentle insistence that something greater is unfolding. You sense movement not around you, but within you, as if heaven is aligning pieces of your story that were scattered for years. Nothing about this moment is accidental. The trembling you feel is not danger but invitation, an opening, a doorway, a transition point between who you were and who you are becoming. Your spirit recognizes the shift long before your mind catches up. And that recognition is the signal that heaven has been waiting for. Soon, the veil will not just tremble, it will part. And when it does, everything hidden will begin revealing its purpose in your life. You turn from the shadows, chosen one, and heaven takes notice. The angels who watched your hesitation now witness something even more powerful, your decision to step away from what once chained your spirit. This is not a small movement. This is not an emotional moment. This is a spiritual rupture, a breaking of patterns that tried to hold you for years. You are not just pulling away from darkness, you are reclaiming territory the enemy assumed he owned. There were seasons where shadows felt familiar to you. Not because you loved them, but because you were exhausted, you were wounded, you were misunderstood. You were spiritually drained to the point where numbness felt safer than clarity. Those shadows whispered to you when no one else did. They pretended to comfort you while secretly feeding on the cracks in your identity. And heaven watched, waiting for the day you would awaken to the truth. That day is now. As you turn away, the shadows recoil. They know what your awakening means. They know what your clarity activates. Darkness fears those who finally see. When you were confused, the enemy was calm. When you doubted yourself, he felt secure. But the moment you took your first step toward light, every demonic strategy built against your destiny began to crumble. The angels were shocked. Not because they doubted you, but because they recognized the magnitude of the shift happening within you. You are not running anymore. You are not hiding anymore. You are not surrendering your identity anymore. Your spirit has chosen the direction heaven has been calling you toward for years. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." You forgot that truth. But heaven never did. And now it rises inside you like a flame breaking through the cracks of a long-sealed door. The shadows you turn from today are not only external, they are internal. The self-doubt, the fear, the guilt, the voice in your mind that tried to convince you that you were too broken, too late, too damaged, too lost. These shadows were fed by old wounds and old lies, shaping your thoughts into prisons you didn't even know you were living inside. But the moment you turned your heart toward the light, those prisons began to open, and you can feel it, can't you? That strange sense of clarity, that subtle rise of strength, that quiet awareness returning to your spirit. This is what it feels like when shadows lose their power. They don't disappear instantly. They weaken. They tremble. They release their grip slowly as heaven begins healing the places they once occupied. And now, the spiritual realm shifts around you. The angels begin to move with new confidence because your choice has activated heavenly authority. When a chosen one turns away from darkness, heaven does not simply applaud, it mobilizes. Assignments shift, protection increases. Barriers collapse. The path ahead starts to clear because your spirit finally aligned with truth. You may not feel strong yet, but strength is already building inside you. You may not understand everything, but understanding will come. You may not see the full picture, but heaven sees it, and heaven is guiding you step by step through this turning. Your journey forward isn't just about avoiding darkness, it's about rediscovering the light within you that darkness tried to bury. When you turn from shadows, you turn toward identity, you turn toward clarity. You turn toward the version of yourself heaven has always known. And now, as the shadows loosen their grip and your spirit begins to reclaim what darkness tried to steal, heaven urges you to seal this moment with intention, not emotion, not impulse, but spiritual clarity. Type light wins in the comments. 2 simple words, yet carrying the full weight of your awakening. When you write it, you mark this turning in the spiritual realm. You declare that the light inside you rises above every lie that once held you. You announce to heaven that you choose alignment, and you signal to darkness that its influence over you is breaking. This is not about engagement, it is about identity, agreement, and spiritual positioning. Let these 2 words become the signature of your return to the path heaven always prepared for you. Your declaration becomes a spiritual imprint, echoing beyond your screen into the realm that once resisted you. Light wins is not a phrase, it is a shift in authority reclaiming your direction. Every time your spirit whispers light wins, the shadows that once clung to you weaken further. Heaven records your stand, marking this moment as the turning point darkness feared. The silent test begins long before you recognize it. Chosen one. Heaven has watched you walk through trials that looked ordinary on the surface, but carried deep spiritual significance underneath. The angels saw the moments when your heart was pressed, when your strength was stretched, when your faith was quietly shaken not by loud storms, but by subtle pressures designed to expose what was hidden inside you. Silent tests never announce themselves. They arrive disguised as daily frustrations, emotional heaviness, unexpected delays, or quiet internal battles no one else can see. You didn't realize it then. But the test was not about whether you were strong, it was about whether your spirit would remain open to God when everything around you seemed motionless, muted, or draining. The most dangerous tests are not the ones that roar, they are the ones that whisper, the ones that make you feel like nothing is happening, the ones that tempt you to give up simply because heaven seems silent. Heaven observed all of it. There were days when you questioned yourself more than the situation, days when your thoughts spiraled into doubt, days when your heart felt bruised with no visible cause. Days when you wondered if heaven had stepped back and left you standing alone. But silence was never abandonment, it was revelation. The silent test reveals what noise can disguise. It exposes where your spirit stands when your feelings can no longer carry you. According to the book of Proverbs on chapter 17, verse 3, the crucible for silver and the furnace for gold, but the Lord tests the heart, not to break you, not to discourage you, but to prove what heaven already placed inside you. Your silent test was never about punishment. It was a refining. Heaven needed to reveal to you what heaven already knew: your endurance, your loyalty, your inner strength. Because anyone can remain faithful when signs are everywhere. Anyone can trust when miracles are obvious. But only the chosen remain steady when nothing seems to move. Only the chosen continue forward when emotions fall silent. Only the chosen keep listening when the heavens feel quiet. The angels were surprised not because they doubted you, but because they saw what your spirit did when no one else could see your effort. They saw restraint when frustration wanted control. They saw humility when pride wanted a reaction. They saw patience when your heart wanted acceleration. The silent test didn't reveal weakness, it revealed spiritual discipline shaped through years of battles. You thought you were standing still, but heaven saw growth. You thought nothing was happening, but heaven saw endurance. You thought you were failing, but heaven saw victory hidden in your perseverance. Your silent test uncovered qualities inside you that needed to surface before the next stage of your calling. It revealed your ability to trust without evidence, to hold steady without reassurance, to move forward without applause. Heaven always knew you could do it, but now you know too. Silent tests come before elevation. They strengthen your discernment, sharpen your awareness, and cleanse your intentions so you can carry the weight of your next assignment without cracking. Silence teaches you how to recognize God without noise. Silence matures your spirit in ways comfort never could. And now heaven leans closer. Because the test you didn't understand is finally complete. You remained faithful longer than you realized. You endured more than anyone saw. You passed a test you didn't even know you were taking. The angels watched you bend but never break, flicker but never fade, struggle but never surrender. And now they move, preparing the next chapter. Because heaven rewards what was proven in silence. Your silent test is ending and your unfolding begins. The stillness around you begins to shift, as if the realm that once observed in silence now moves with purpose. What felt like waiting transforms into unfolding, and your spirit senses the momentum gathering around your steps. The strength you gained in hidden places now becomes visible. Every moment you endured quietly becomes spiritual authority. The angels who watched your perseverance now prepare to escort you into a level your former battles could never touch. Your silence has been weighed. Your endurance has been recorded, and now heaven positions you for what only the refined can carry. The test shaped you, but the next chapter will reveal you. Marked by obedience, this is what heaven sees as you step into this new moment. The angels witnessed your silent test, your inner turning, and your unexpected rise from the shadows. Now, as obedience begins shaping your steps, the realm of light responds with motion. Heaven does not move because of perfection, it moves because of alignment. And chosen one, your obedience is becoming a sound that heaven cannot ignore. Your obedience isn't loud, it's not dramatic, it's not a trumpet blast or a public declaration. It's the quiet shift in your decisions, the gentle turning of your heart. The way you choose light even when darkness offers the easier road. These small choices are more powerful than you realize. They interrupt the enemy's plans, they activate angelic movement. They rewrite the atmosphere around you. This is why obedience shocks the darkness so deeply, because darkness counted on your exhaustion. It counted on your discouragement. It counted on your doubt. But every time you choose what is right instead of what is easy, every time you choose clarity instead of confusion, every time you choose courage instead of fear, you announce to the realm of darkness that you cannot be manipulated anymore. As the ancient text recorded in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 33 declares, "Walk in obedience to all that the Lord your God has commanded you, so that you may live and prosper." This isn't a command meant to restrict you. It is a pathway meant to free you. Heaven prospers the obedient not because they earn it, but because obedience aligns you with the flow of divine wisdom, protection, and clarity. And chosen one, your obedience is beginning to change your spiritual landscape. It is like a lantern lit in a valley at night, soft, steady, yet visible from miles away. The angels move toward that light, blessings follow that light, direction forms around that light. You are becoming a steady flame in a world filled with confusion, and heaven celebrates that. But hear this with a calm heart: obedience does not mean isolation. You do not walk this path alone. Heaven uses people, messages, voices, and moments to surround you with support as you grow. And if this message has been one of those voices lifting you, guiding you, reminding you who you are, then let your spirit recognize that connection. Now, before I continue, I must speak something gently, sincerely, and with complete respect for your free will. As you continue in this awakening, if this message has been a light to you, then you are welcome freely and gently to boldly support this flame in whatever way your heart feels led. You may choose to like, share, or subscribe, not as a task, but as a way of letting this light travel farther, reaching others who are still wandering in their night. And regarding giving, let me speak with a metaphor meant only for the willing. Imagine this message as a lighthouse on a quiet cliff, its beams sweeping across the dark sea, guiding ships that have forgotten where the shore is. A lighthouse never asks the passing sailors for anything, but sometimes a grateful traveler leaves a stone at its base, not to pay the light back, but to help keep the cliff from eroding. If you ever feel moved, you may choose to donate, not as a requirement, not as an obligation, but as placing one small stone at the foot of the lighthouse, strengthening it so it can keep shining for the next soul swallowed by the waves. Your journey is honored whether you give nothing or everything. The light shines for you all the same. Now look closely at what is changing inside you. Your obedience is sharpening your discernment. You feel it in the way you make decisions: more clarity, less chaos. The fog that once clouded your thoughts is beginning to lift. Your intuition grows stronger, your spiritual senses more alert. This is the fruit of alignment, and heaven is not done. Your obedience today becomes the foundation for the door that opens tomorrow. Every step you take away from confusion and toward purpose becomes a signal to heaven that you are ready for more. The angels marvel because obedience is the language of those who rise. It is the choice of the chosen. It is the quiet yes that shifts timelines. And you, chosen one, are walking into a chapter where obedience becomes your strength. Your obedience becomes a silent banner over your life, signaling to heaven that you are ready. Each choice plants seeds that will rise into unexpected breakthroughs. The angels now move with certainty around you, preparing paths that once felt unreachable. What obedience began, heaven will finish guiding you into a chapter shaped by clarity and strength. The ripple in the spirit begins the moment your obedience aligns with heaven. What you decide in silence does not stay in silence. Your choices send waves into realms you cannot see. The angels watch as these ripples move outward, touching the very structure of your destiny, adjusting pathways, opening doors, and shifting the atmosphere around you. What felt like a small, private decision becomes a spiritual tremor with consequences far greater than you imagined. Every act of obedience creates motion, not loud motion, not dramatic motion, but deep, spiritual motion, like a stone dropped into still water. The surface barely reacts at first, but beneath, the ripple spreads outward with unstoppable force. This is what your spirit is doing now. You have made decisions heaven didn't take lightly, and now heaven begins to respond. There were moments in your past where you thought nothing was changing, even when you prayed, even when you tried, even when you hoped. But the truth is that heaven was waiting for a specific alignment, a moment where your spirit stepped into clarity, where you chose the path God had been whispering to you, not the path your wounds tried to drag you toward. That moment came, and the ripple began. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. This verse now becomes the foundation of the ripple moving through your life. When you stopped fighting battles that were never yours to carry. When you surrendered your need to control. When you let go of the weight that exhausted your spirit, that stillness triggered divine action. Heaven moves most powerfully when you are still enough to hear direction. The ripple touches old patterns first. Habits that once gripped you begin loosening. Thoughts that once tormented you begin fading. Cycles that once repeated now begin breaking. This is spiritual physics when heaven moves. Darkness loses balance. You may feel it as a subtle shift, a sudden peace where there used to be anxiety, a calm in situations that once overwhelmed you, a clarity in choices that once confused you. This is not imagination. This is the ripple. And the angels observe with quiet certainty because they understand what this moment means. They know that when a chosen one reaches this level of alignment, the spiritual landscape begins to reorganize itself. Relationships shift, opportunities reposition, spiritual vision sharpens, and your calling steps out of the fog. There is also a ripple outward to those connected to you. People in your life may begin to feel the shift without understanding it. Some will be drawn closer because your growth awakens their own. Some will distance themselves because your rising exposes their stagnation. This is normal. This is spiritual motion reorganizing your circle according to your assignment. The ripple also reaches forward, touching future moments you haven't lived yet. Doors that would have stayed shut begin unlocking. Plans that once failed begin aligning. Battles you thought you would have to fight are already being settled because heaven is arranging the details long before you arrive. This is what heaven does for the obedient. It goes ahead of you. You may not fully understand the magnitude of what is unfolding, but your spirit feels it. The air around your life feels different. The weight on your chest has lifted. The tension that once clouded your mind has dissolved. You feel steadier, clearer, more aware. This is the ripple reaching you. And now heaven invites you to acknowledge this moment not with fear, not with uncertainty, but with a declaration. A chosen one seals a spiritual shift by recognizing it. I want you to comment 444 below. This number is not random. It is a prophetic symbol of divine balance returning to your path. It represents the stabilizing hand of heaven arranging the pieces of your journey. It speaks of spiritual foundations being strengthened beneath you, even in places you thought were fragile. When you write it, you're not performing a ritual, you're stepping into agreement with the order heaven is establishing around your life. Let the number be your way of saying your steps are being aligned, your path is being secured, and your future is being set in place by the one who walks ahead of you. 444 becomes a seal, a marker, a spiritual anchor for the shift already moving through your life. The ripple around you deepens, reaching places your mind has not entered yet. What began as a quiet shift now reshapes the atmosphere, preparing your steps forward. And as heaven strengthens what surrounds you, your spirit begins to recognize a new stability rising within. The alignment you declared through 444 is already taking root. When light answers back, it never arrives with noise or chaos. It comes with a clarity that settles into your spirit before your mind even understands what is happening. This is the moment you now stand in. Heaven has received your shift, your obedience, your awakening, and now the realm of light responds. Not with thunder, not with dramatic signs, but with a quiet, unmistakable presence that begins illuminating everything you could not see before. For so long, you walked through spiritual fog. You made decisions through dimness, guided only by instinct and hope. You felt after answers like someone feeling along a wall in the dark. But now, the light answers back. A softness enters your awareness. A new strength flows into your thoughts. A peace you cannot explain surrounds you. This is not your imagination. This is the evidence of heaven acknowledging your turn toward truth. There are moments in your journey where God does not speak through word, but through atmosphere. A sudden calm in your mind, a sense of direction without a sentence, a quiet assurance that settles into your chest and lifts the weight you thought you would have to carry forever. This is one of those moments. What you are feeling is light responding to your movement toward it. The ancient words recorded in Romans chapter 13, verse 12 declare, "The night is nearly over, the day is almost here." This truth is not about sunrise, it is about your spirit finally stepping into its appointed illumination. Night, for you, represented confusion, delays, spiritual immobility, emotional heaviness, and the shadows that tried to cling to you. But as you aligned with heaven, the night began to lose its power. And now, as the day approaches, you feel the warmth of light before you even see the full picture. When light answers back, it brings exposure, but exposure is not meant to shame you. It is meant to free you. Suddenly, you begin noticing patterns you once tolerated. You sense attitudes, behaviors, or connections that no longer match who you are becoming. You recognize lies you believed for years. You feel the difference between people who drain you and people who honor your spirit. This is not overthinking. It is illumination. Light reveals the truth about situations you misread in the dark. You start understanding why certain doors stayed shut because they were traps disguised as opportunities. You see why certain relationships collapsed. They were not built to carry the weight of your calling. You realize why certain paths felt impossible because they were never part of your destiny. Light answers back by showing you what was hidden. Not to hurt you, but to protect the future you are stepping into. There is also a new clarity forming in your decision. You may still feel unsure, but deep within, something is becoming rooted. You begin to sense when something is wrong even before there is evidence. You start to feel peace when you are moving in the right direction, and discomfort when you are drifting. This is not coincidence. It is discernment awakening under the influence of light. The angels who observed your battles now observe your breakthrough with quiet approval. They see the shift in the atmosphere around you, and they know what comes next. Heaven always waits for alignment before releasing revelation. And now revelation begins to flow. Ideas come more clearly. Insights appear without being forced. Understanding begins to rise from within, not from outside sources, and you are not just hearing, you are perceiving. As light answers back, something deeper also begins to heal. The wounds that once felt raw no longer sting the way they used to. Memories that once triggered pain now feel distant, softened, or reframed. You may even notice forgiveness rising in you, not because you decided to forgive, but because the light is dissolving the bitterness darkness tried to plant in your spirit. Healing is not always loud. Sometimes it is simply the moment you realize you are not as broken as you once believed. This stage of your journey is sacred. Many people seek miracles, signs, and wonders. But the greatest miracle is when your spirit begins to see clearly. Clarity is redemption. Discernment is protection. Awareness is elevation. And all three are now forming within you because the light has answered your spirit's call. You are not returning to who you were. You are transforming into who you were always meant to be. The light is not only around you, it is within you, expanding, strengthening, grounding you. What once confused you will soon become simple. What once intimidated you will soon become manageable. What once felt impossible will soon feel guided. The night is ending for you, even if your circumstances haven't caught up yet. Light reaches the spirit before it reaches the environment, and your spirit has already stepped into morning. Light has answered back, and nothing in your life will stay the same after this. The voice you finally heard was not a shout, not a command, not a forceful interruption. It was a whisper that reached you at the exact moment your spirit became ready. Heaven does not speak loudly to the chosen. Heaven speaks clearly. And clarity is often quiet. That is why you didn't hear it before. Your life was filled with noise from fear, from past wounds, from expectations, from the shadows that tried to confuse your path. But now, with the veil trembling and the light answering back, the whisper finally reached you. The voice of God is not always a sound. Sometimes it is a shift, a sense, an inner pull that refuses to let you stay where you've been. You felt it in your decisions recently, the nudge that told you to move away from certain patterns, the pull that guided you toward moments like this, the awareness that your spirit was being summoned to attention. This inner voice did not come from emotion, because emotion changes. It did not come from fear, because fear binds. It came from truth. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Elijah, chapter 19, verse 12. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. That whisper is the voice you finally heard. Not a voice that threatened you, not a voice that condemned you, but a voice that called you. A voice that invited you back into alignment. A voice that reached into the parts of your heart you tried to silence. You were not ready to hear it before, not because you were unworthy, but because the noise around you was too loud. Noise from people who expected too much of you. Noise from past experiences telling you you'd fail again. Noise from your own thoughts, shaped by wounds that were never healed. But now, with the atmosphere around your life shifting, the whisper finally made it through. And when heaven whispers, everything in you stops to listen, even if you don't realize it at first. Your attention shifts. Your spirit becomes alert. Your thoughts slow down just enough to notice a direction you couldn't see before. That inner stillness you felt recently was not emptiness. It was God making room to speak. You might not have understood the whisper the moment it arrived. You might have questioned whether it was your imagination. But heaven does not speak to your mind first. Heaven speaks to your spirit. And your spirit recognized the whisper instantly. That recognition is why you felt drawn deeper into this journey. That recognition is why you sensed you couldn't stay in the same spiritual place. That recognition is why the words you are hearing right now resonate so deeply. The whisper came to remind you of who you are, not who pain told you to be, not who fear shaped you into, not who others projected onto you. The whisper came to awaken the identity heaven placed in you before the world taught you to doubt it. You were always called. You were always marked. You were always chosen. The whisper didn't create your purpose, it revealed it. This whisper is also guiding you into decisions. You may notice a clarity rising within you about what to release and what to embrace. You may find yourself feeling uncomfortable in places that once felt familiar. You may suddenly sense that certain connections, habits, or environments no longer match the person you are becoming. This is the whisper working. It is not pushing you, it is guiding you. The angels saw when your spirit finally recognized the sound. That recognition changed everything. Heaven responds to the chosen who respond to the whisper. Clarity becomes easier. Peace becomes deeper. Confusion loses its grip. Even your surroundings begin to shift because the spiritual realm moves the moment you listen. And now you begin to understand that the whisper was not random. It came at a divine moment, a moment when your heart was ready to receive what your mind had resisted for so long. God never rushes you, He prepares you. The whisper is a sign that your preparation is ending and your alignment is beginning. The voice you finally heard is calling you forward. It is drawing you toward the version of yourself that heaven has always recognized. It is reminding you that you are not wandering, you are being guided. You are not lost. You are being led. You are not forgotten, you are being spoken to. And now that the whisper has reached you, your journey will not remain the same. For once the chosen hear the voice meant for them, they cannot return to silence. The turning point in the war arrives quietly, yet its impact thunders through the unseen realm. You don't feel fear, you feel focus. You don't feel chaos, you feel a strange, steady awareness rising inside you. Something in the atmosphere has shifted, and the angels know it. The moment your spirit aligned with the whisper, the balance of the battle changed entirely. What once pressed against you now begins to retreat. What once surrounded you now begins to weaken. The war is still there, but the advantage is no longer with darkness. For so long you fought battles without understanding the true source of the pressure. You thought it was emotional. You thought it was circumstantial. You thought it was your own mind turning against you. But heaven always knew the truth, your war was spiritual. The enemy sought the places where you were vulnerable, the seasons when you were tired, the moments where confusion clouded your discernment. But now, with the whisper awakened within you, the enemy's strategy collapses. Darkness never feared your strength. It feared your clarity. It feared the moment your spirit would finally wake up. It feared the day you would stop fighting blindly and start fighting with revelation. And now, that day has come. As the apostle reminds us in his letter to the Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual forces of darkness in the heavenly realms. This truth is becoming real to you not just as knowledge, but as awareness. You no longer misinterpret the battle. You no longer take spiritual attacks personally. You no longer blame yourself for resistance that was never about you. It was about your calling. You are beginning to see the battlefield for what it has always been, and the angels watch with a mixture of awe and readiness. Because the moment the chosen understand the real war, they become dangerous to darkness. You are not afraid anymore, not because the battle has disappeared, but because you finally recognize who is fighting beside you. You feel a new strength stirring. Not physical strength, not emotional hype, but spiritual authority. The kind that doesn't panic, the kind that doesn't fold, the kind that stands firm even when circumstances shake. That authority is not something you created, it is something heaven placed in you long before you understood it. This is why the enemy fought you so fiercely in earlier seasons. He saw the warrior in you before you did. He recognized the threat your clarity would become. He knew that once your spirit awakened, you would not just survive the battle, you would turn it. The turning point in any war is not when the enemy weakens, it is when the warrior awakens. And you, chosen one, have awakened. You notice it in the way you think now. Lies that once pulled you into fear no longer feel convincing. Distractions that once derailed you no longer feel appealing. Attacks that once made you collapse now feel recognizable, predictable, even powerless. This is not arrogance, it is discernment. Heaven is teaching you how to identify spiritual patterns so you can defeat them, not fall for them. You also notice it in your atmosphere. Conversations feel different. Your reactions feel different. Your intuition feels sharper. You are no longer walking blind, you are walking led. Every step you take now feels guided. protected, watched over. This is the fruit of alignment. The battle is not over, but the advantage has shifted decisively. The enemy cannot operate freely against someone who sees clearly. Darkness loses influence over a mind illuminated by truth. Confusion cannot manipulate a heart strengthened by revelation. And now, heaven invites you to mark this moment, not with fear, not with hesitation, but with a declaration that carries spiritual weight. I want you to comment, "I stand below." Only 2 words, but powerful beyond measure. I stand is not a sentence, it is a spiritual position. It means you refuse to retreat into old patterns. It means you refuse to collapse under confusion. It means you refuse to surrender what heaven has awakened in you. It means you choose to stand firm in the clarity God has given you. When you write it, you seal the shift already happening around you. You declare to heaven that you accept this awakening. You announce to darkness that you are not intimidated. You remind yourself that you are no longer the version of you that once fell easily. This is your turning point. This is the moment the warrior in you steps forward. This is the battle where heaven fights for you and darkness fears you. The war is not over, but the momentum now belongs to you. Heaven records your stand, chosen one. The moment you declared your position in the battle, the angels did not simply observe, they wrote it into the unfolding story of your destiny. Every choice you make in the realm of the Spirit becomes a line in a book heaven has been writing long before you were born. And now, your stand becomes a turning page. There is something sacred about moments like this. Not loud, not dramatic, but deeply defining. The angels measure not the volume of your actions, but the posture of your heart. And your heart has begun leaning toward heaven in ways that even you didn't realize. That posture shifts outcomes. It redirects winds. It moves assignments into place. The ancient words recorded in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 16, reveal this mystery. A book of remembrance was written before him for those who feared the Lord and honored his name. Heaven does not forget your obedience. Heaven does not overlook your effort. Heaven does not ignore your rising. Even the smallest movements of your spirit are recorded not because God needs to remember, but because you need to know your journey matters. You may have lived through seasons where it felt like nothing you did was seen, where your growth was unnoticed, where your attempts at change went unrecognized, where your silent battles felt invisible to the world. But heaven saw every moment. Heaven heard every unspoken prayer. Heaven counted every tear. Heaven measured every choice you made toward the light, even the ones you thought were too small to matter. And now that you are aligned, your entire spiritual record begins to shift. Your stand becomes a signal. It tells heaven, you can build on me now. You can trust me with more. You can lead me deeper. The angels respond by adjusting the path ahead, removing dangers, strengthening your steps, guiding you through turns you do not yet see. And now, I speak gently, sincerely, with complete respect for your free will. If this message has supported your journey, if it has helped awaken clarity in you, if it has felt like a familiar voice calling you forward, then you are welcome to like, share, and subscribe so this spiritual flame reaches others who are still walking through their own night. Not because you owe anything, not because it is expected, but because light multiplies through acts of simple connection. And about donation, allow me to paint a picture, not a pressure. Imagine your journey as a bridge stretching across a vast river. This message is like lanterns placed along the railing, each one helping travelers see their own path more clearly. Lanterns do not demand anything from those who pass, they simply shine. But those who have walked far, who know what darkness feels like, Sometimes pause to place a small candle beside one of the lanterns, allowing the path to remain lit for whoever comes after them. To give is not a requirement. It is not an obligation. It is a gesture of gratitude, of continuity, of shared light. If at any moment your heart feels moved, you may choose to donate not as payment, not as duty, but as adding one more candle to the path, helping illuminate the way for someone who is where you once were. And if you never give a single thing, know this: you are still welcomed, you are still valued, the lanterns still shine for you. Now, let your heart return to the truth of this section. Heaven is recording your stand, not your perfection, not your performance. Your stand, your decision to rise, your refusal to fold, your openness to truth. This moment becomes a spiritual anchor that future breakthroughs will build upon. When you look back one day, you will trace your turning point to this season, the season when heaven wrote a new chapter with your name on it. And as that chapter unfolds, the angels continue what they started, watching, guiding, protecting, positioning. Your journey is shifting from survival to purpose, from wandering to direction, from internal chaos to divine clarity. Heaven has written your stand, and now heaven prepares your next step. Your spirit begins to feel a quiet momentum, as though heaven is gently guiding you toward a horizon you once thought was unreachable. The shift is subtle, yet unmistakably real. What was once heavy now feels lighter. Not because the path has changed, but because you have. Strength forms in the places where fear once lived, and clarity rises where confusion once ruled. And as heaven turns the page of your story, you sense a new chapter opening, one shaped by purpose, guarded by angels, and written with the wisdom you gained in your darkest battles. A crown begins to form long before it is seen, long before it rests upon your spirit, long before you realize you have been chosen to carry it. Crowns are never placed suddenly. They are forged through seasons pressed in silence, shaped in hidden battles, refined in moments where you felt forgotten, abandoned, or misunderstood. And now, heaven watches as the outline of your crown begins to emerge from everything you have endured. You may not feel worthy of such a symbol. You may not see yourself as someone capable of carrying spiritual weight. But heaven does not crown the comfortable. Heaven crowns the faithful, not the perfect, not the flawless, but the ones who kept rising even when darkness tried to drown them. You are becoming that person. You are becoming the one heaven saw long before you ever understood your own strength. A crown is not formed from ease. It is born from pressure. Every battle you survived added shape to it. Every tear you shed polished its edges. Every decision to try again welded another piece into place. The spiritual realm has been watching your transformation with quiet reverence. The angels understand the weight of what you have carried. They saw the nights when you didn't break, even though breaking would have been easier. They saw the days you held yourself together with nothing but a whisper of hope. They saw the choices you made in silence, the ones no one ever acknowledged but heaven. And each moment became part of the crown being shaped for you. As the prophet Isaiah wrote, chapter 62, verse 3, "You will be a crown of splendor in the Lord's hand, a royal diadem in the hand of your God." This was never about earthly royalty. This was about identity, your true identity, finally rising above the lies, the wounds, and the shadows that tried to bury it. For the first time in a long time, your spirit is stepping into alignment with who you were always meant to be. You may not realize it, but your inner world is changing. Your thoughts feel sharper, your awareness feels brighter, your emotions feel steadier. This is the crown forming within you. Crowns are not placed from the outside, and they rise from the inside out. They manifest when your spirit reaches a level of maturity, clarity, and resilience that darkness can no longer distort, and heaven sees what you cannot yet see. You are beginning to walk differently. You are beginning to stand differently. You are beginning to perceive differently. The crown gives you new sight, not the sight of the natural, but the sight of the spirit. You start seeing manipulation where you once saw affection. You start seeing destiny where you once saw coincidence. You start noticing opportunities that once hid from you because your spiritual posture is shifting upward. A crown grants authority, but authority does not feel like domination. It feels like peace. A deep, anchored peace that says, I know who I am now. I know what I carry now. I know where I am headed now. This peace is a sign that the crown is nearly complete, and heaven celebrates this transformation. Not because you have reached perfection, but because you have reached awareness. The awareness that you were never ordinary. The awareness that your calling has always been unique. The awareness that the battles you survived were never random, they were refining. Your crown is formed from the strength you didn't know you had, the wisdom you earned through pressure, the courage you discovered when you had nothing left to lean on but God, and the resilience that refused to let darkness write the last chapter of your story. Everything you have walked through, every wound, every lesson, every rising has prepared you for what heaven is shaping now. The angels recognize it. Heaven recognizes it. And soon, you will recognize it too. A crown is not given to someone who escaped the fire, but to someone who walked through the fire and came out carrying the flame. And chosen one, that flame is beginning to burn inside you. Your crown is forming. Your identity is solidifying. Your spirit is rising into its rightful place. What heaven is shaping in you now will carry you into the next chapter of your destiny, one marked not by survival, but by authority. The crown within you steadies your footsteps, reminding your spirit that every hardship refined you for this unfolding strength. You no longer walk as a survivor, but as someone entrusted with purpose. And as heaven observes your rising, the realm around you adjusts, making space for the authority you now carry. Your inner flame becomes guidance, shaping the path that once felt uncertain. The angelic celebration does not erupt with noise. It begins with light. A soft radiance moves through the realm above you as heaven responds to the shift happening within your spirit. Angels do not celebrate events, they celebrate alignment. And in this moment, as your heart rises into clarity and your identity begins to settle, heaven recognizes something powerful. You are finally stepping into the path that was always written for you. This celebration is not about perfection. It is about returning. Returning to awareness. Returning to purpose. Returning to the identity darkness tried to bury. Every time a chosen one awakens, heaven rejoices not because the journey is finished, but because the journey has finally begun with intention. You have crossed from wandering into direction, from confusion into discernment, from surviving into becoming. And the angels who once guarded you through fog and warfare now shift into a posture of joy. Their celebration is not loud, but it is unmistakable. Waves of spiritual light move like warm wind. Assignment angels step forward with anticipation. Your atmosphere begins to feel lifted, lighter, clearer, all because your spirit said yes to the whisper, to the rising, to the crown forming within. The ancient words written in the Gospel of Luke, Chapter 15, verse 10, paint the scene so clearly. There is rejoicing in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents. But repentance is not merely leaving sin, it is returning to alignment, returning to truth, returning to calling, returning to God's original design for your life. And that is exactly what your spirit is doing. You are stepping back into the version of yourself heaven has always recognized. You are reclaiming pieces of your identity that were scattered by disappointment, confusion, or past wounds. Heaven sees it and heaven celebrates. You may feel this celebration in subtle ways. A new sense of hope rising for no reason. A desire to change old habits. A sudden peace settling in your chest. A renewed curiosity for God's voice. These are not emotions. They are signals from the spiritual realm that heaven is drawing near, applauding your shift, surrounding you with support. The angels celebrate because they know what this alignment unlocks. When a chosen one returns to clarity, the path ahead begins to open. Blessings that were held back for protection begin to move forward. Opportunities that once felt stuck begin to flow. Your steps become guided, your decisions become easier, your spirit becomes sharper. Heaven is not simply responding to one moment, heaven is preparing for everything that follows. There is also celebration because your obedience creates impact beyond yourself. When you rise, others connected to you rise, and when you awaken, you break cycles in your bloodline. When you align, your future shifts. Heaven rejoices not only for your journey, but for the generations your obedience will affect. This celebration is also a signal that you are no longer fighting the same battles. You are not in the season of resistance, you are in the season of reorientation. The angels who once stood as protectors now step into their roles as guides. This transition is subtle, but powerful. The war around you is changing shape because your spirit has changed posture. Heaven celebrates not because the journey is easy, but because now you are aligned enough to win. And now, to seal this moment, this awakening, this alignment, this celebration, heaven invites you to acknowledge it. Not with emotion, but with awareness. Not with pressure, but with spiritual clarity. I want you to comment 5 below. This number symbolizes divine transition, a shift orchestrated by God, a movement into new levels of purpose, a spiritual crossing from old patterns into new identity. 555 is the number of divine change that does not break you, but crowns you. It represents forward motion, heavenly reorganization, and the opening of new paths under God's guidance. When you comment it, you are saying, I step into the transition heaven is celebrating. I agree with the shift happening in my life. I walk willingly into the next chapter prepared for me. Heaven celebrates your awakening, but this moment becomes complete when your spirit agrees with it. Heaven's celebration becomes the atmosphere you walk into, wrapping your spirit in reassurance. The transition marked by 555 begins unfolding quietly, shifting the weight you once carried into strength you never expected. You begin to sense doors unlocking ahead, not through force, but through alignment. What once resisted you now releases its grip, because heaven does not celebrate a shift without preparing the path that follows. And as the angelic rejoicing continues, your steps gain clarity. Each movement forward feels guided, as if the realm above gently adjusts your journey to match the transition your spirit has courageously accepted. Paths that now open before you are not new, they were always there, waiting for the moment your spirit became strong enough, clear enough, and aligned enough to walk them. Some paths remain hidden until the chosen one reaches a certain level of awareness. And now, as heaven celebrates your awakening, the way forward begins to reveal itself with a clarity you once longed for but could never grasp. The opening of new paths is not loud. It does not arrive with trumpets or obvious signs. It begins with subtle shifts inside you. Suddenly, decisions that once felt impossible start to feel simple. Directions that once overwhelmed you now make sense. You feel a quiet pull in certain areas of your life and a gentle release from others. This is heaven guiding your steps with precision. In the book of Psalms, chapter 32, verse 8, the Lord promises, "I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my loving eye upon you." This is the guidance unfolding around you now. Not forceful, not rushed, not confusing. It comes like a river quietly carving its way toward the sea, steady, intentional, impossible to stop once it begins. Heaven is not only showing you the path, heaven is preparing you to walk it without fear. Some paths open by removing what no longer belongs. Some paths open by healing what once blinded you. Some paths open by exposing what was blocking you. And some open simply because you are finally ready. The angels have waited for this. Your alignment gives them access to prepare the ground ahead of you. Where you once walked uncertainly, you will now walk with direction. Where you once wandered through fog, you will now recognize markers of clarity. Heaven has begun clearing obstacles long before your feet arrive. You may notice opportunities resurfacing, ones that previously failed because the timing wasn't right. You may feel new interests or ideas stirring inside you that weren't present before. You may even see certain relationships shifting, aligning, or falling away. These are not coincidences. They are signs that the path is rearranging itself beneath your feet. Paths open in layers, first in your spirit through awareness, then in your mind through understanding, then in your steps through divine orchestration. You are experiencing the first two layers now, and soon you will see the third with your own eyes. The path opening ahead may surprise you. It may be different from what you once imagined. Heaven rarely leads the chosen back into what broke them, drained them, or limited them. Instead, heaven brings you into places where your growth is honored and your calling has room to breathe. This is why some things collapsed in previous seasons. They were too small for destiny. This is why certain connections ended. They could not carry the weight of your purpose. This is why some doors refused to open. They would have led you into delay, not destiny. Heaven's no was never rejection, it was redirection. And now, the redirection is becoming clear. You feel it in the peace that rises without explanation. You feel it in the discomfort toward things that no longer fit. You feel it in the quiet certainty guiding your next steps. Clarity is the confirmation of an open path. Your senses are sharpening. You notice signs you once ignored. Little confirmations appear throughout your day. Conversations, ideas, memories, and even moments of silence start aligning like pieces of a puzzle that finally makes sense. Heaven is not teasing you with possibilities. Heaven is guiding you into readiness. The angels walk before you now, not to drag you, but to prepare the journey. They remove unseen traps. They soften hardened ground. They close paths that lead to confusion and brighten those that lead to purpose. You are not walking into the unknown. You are walking into what heaven has already designed. And the beautiful part is this: the more the path opens, the more your identity strengthens. The more your identity strengthens, the clearer your calling becomes, and the clearer your calling becomes, the steadier your steps feel. This is divine alignment in motion. You are not the same person who wandered through past seasons. Your spirit is more rooted. Your discernment is more refined. Your awareness is sharper. You are finally becoming the version of yourself capable of walking the path heaven always intended for you. The opening of this path is not just about movement. It is about transformation. The journey ahead will require the strength, wisdom, and resilience you earned through every battle behind you. Nothing was wasted. Everything was preparation. The path is opening. Chosen one. Not in front of who you were, but in front of who you are becoming. Walk forward. Heaven goes before you. The enemy begins to back away, not because his strength has diminished, but because your awareness has increased. Darkness loses its grip the moment you recognize it. For so long you fought shadows you could not name, patterns you could not understand, and emotions you could not explain. But now, with your spirit awakened, your identity rising, and your path unfolding, the enemy realizes something he hoped would never happen. You can see him clearly. What once intimidated you now feels exposed. What once confused you now feels obvious. What once drained you now feels powerless. This shift is not accidental. It is the result of every moment you chose alignment over fear, truth over lies, and clarity over confusion. You are no longer an easy target. You are no longer spiritually blindfolded. You are no longer someone darkness can manipulate with old tricks. The enlightenment of your spirit has weakened every strategy formed against you. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 54, verse 17, heaven declares no weapon forged against you will prevail. This promise is becoming real in your life in a way you have never experienced before. It is not that the enemy stopped forming weapons, he simply cannot succeed anymore. The spiritual landscape around you is changing because the authority within you has awakened. There was a time when certain thoughts could destabilize you, when certain people could wound you easily, when certain attacks could break your focus, but now, those same tactics fall flat. They no longer reach the deeper parts of your spirit. Your mind is guarded. Your heart is anchored. Your discernment is alert. Heaven has strengthened the walls around your inner world, not to isolate you, but to protect the truth you are now carrying. The enemy backs away from those who are spiritually grounded. He cannot twist what you now understand. He cannot derail what you have identified. He cannot darken what heaven has illuminated. Darkness thrives in confusion, not clarity. And you, chosen one, now walk with clarity. You may notice this shift in small ways first. Something that once hurt you now barely affects you. A temptation that once felt loud now feels dull. Fear that once overwhelmed you now loses its voice. These are signs that your spirit has risen above the battlefield the enemy once controlled. The angels see it clearly. They watch as darkness retreats from the space around your life. This retreat is not chaos, it is divine order reestablishing itself. Heaven always pushes back what does not belong, especially when a chosen one steps into alignment. Your rise has caused rearrangement in the spiritual realm. There are battles you will never have to fight again, not because they disappeared, but because you outgrew them. There are attacks that can no longer touch you, not because they stopped, but because your spirit is no longer vulnerable to them. There are enemies that lost access to you, not because you hid, but because you matured. This is spiritual evolution. Your strength has become a barrier darkness cannot cross. You may even notice people pulling away, not because they dislike you, but because the darkness influencing them can no longer stay near your light. The enemy always retreats when a chosen one rises. Some people were never the problem, the spirit behind them was. Now that your atmosphere has shifted, those spirits lose access. You might also see situations suddenly resolving themselves. Conflicts easing, stress lifting, confusion clearing. This is the spiritual realm adjusting around your awakening. The enemy is backing away because heaven has stepped forward. Your authority is not loud or aggressive. It is quiet and settled. True authority does not need to prove itself, it simply stands. You feel stronger, calmer, more certain than ever before. This is the maturity the enemy feared, because a believer who is confident in their identity is unstoppable. Now you understand the enemy never feared your pain, he feared your healing. He never feared your confusion, he feared your clarity. He never feared your weakness, he feared your awakening. And now that you have awakened, he cannot stand where you stand. You are stepping into a season where your very presence disrupts the plans of darkness. Your footsteps carry weight. Your words carry authority. Your spirit carries light that pushes back anything not aligned with heaven. The enemy is backing away because the mantle on your life has become too heavy for darkness to withstand. Heaven is advancing because your spirit has become ready. This chapter marks the end of spiritual intimidation in your life and the beginning of spiritual dominance. Not by force, but by identity. You are no longer chased by darkness, you are outgrowing it. Stepping into royal identity is not a moment, it is a becoming. It unfolds slowly, like dawn pushing its first light across the horizon. You don't feel transformed in an instant. You realize you are different when you look back and see how far your spirit has risen. Heaven has been guiding you toward this realization. And now the angels watch with reverence as you take your rightful place, not as someone hoping to be chosen, but as someone who finally recognizes they already are. Your identity has been shaped through fire, silence, pressure, testing, and awakening. Every section of your journey has peeled away an old layer: fear, shame, doubt, confusion. The wounds that once told you who you were. Now those layers fall at your feet like ashes blown by the wind. What remains is the version of you heaven has always seen. Stepping into royal identity means walking with awareness. It means remembering you are not defined by your past. It means understanding you carry authority, even on your quiet days. It means embracing the truth that heaven trusts you with assignments darkness tried so hard to stop. When the chosen awaken, the realm adjusts, and it is adjusting now around you. The apostle wrote boldly in the first letter of Peter, chapter 2, verse 9. You are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession. This truth is not metaphor. It is lineage. It is origin. It is identity speaking louder than your emotions, louder than your failures, louder than every voice that ever tried to belittle what heaven stamped on your spirit. You may feel your posture changing, not physically, but spiritually. You stand differently inside. You make choices differently. You speak differently. You even think differently. This is not self-confidence, it is spiritual inheritance breaking through. Stepping into your royal identity also means stepping away from what once held you captive. The insecurities that whispered lies. The expectations that buried your voice. The people who only knew the weaker version of you. Your identity does not shrink for anyone anymore. Heaven has lifted you, and you cannot unsee what God has revealed. But identity is not only something you receive, it is something you carry. And this is where your journey deepens. Because heaven is not just giving you identity. Heaven is entrusting you with influence, purpose, and spiritual resonance. You are shaped to shine, not to hide. You are refined to walk in authority, not timidity. You are chosen to stand, not shrink. The angels see it all over you. Your steps echo differently now. Your presence carries weight. Your voice carries light. The enemy knows it too, which is why he fears your awakening. But heaven celebrates your rising because your identity is strengthening the assignment ahead of you. Now, before I continue, let me speak with gentleness, sincerity, and complete respect for your freedom. If this message has been part of your rising, if it helped you see your identity more clearly, if it reminded you of who you truly are, if it became a piece of your journey toward light. You are welcome to like, share, and subscribe, not out of duty, but as a way of allowing this same light to reach others who are still trapped in the shadows you escaped. You owe nothing. You are pressured by nothing. But you are invited to share what strengthened you the way someone once shared the light that reached you. And about donation, let me speak with an image that honors your heart without ever asking anything from it. Imagine your journey as a long road winding through mountains. Some parts were steep, some parts were dark, some parts felt endless. Along this road, certain lanterns were placed messages, moments, voices that helped you keep walking. This message is simply one lantern among many. It shines whether you touch it or not. But sometimes a traveler who has been strengthened by its glow leaves behind a small stone, placing it gently at the base of the lantern. Not to earn anything, not to repay anything, but to steady it, ensuring that light remains for the next weary traveler. If someday your spirit feels moved, you may choose to donate not as payment, not as obligation, but as adding your own stone to the lantern's base, letting its light shine a little longer for someone still walking through their night. Whether you give or never give, the light remains for you. Whether you support or not, your identity is honored. Whether you interact or simply receive, heaven cherishes your rising. Now, if your heart feels aligned with this moment, you may also leave a simple comment below, not required, not pressured, simply offered, I receive, not as a demand, not as a ritual, but as a gentle declaration to yourself and to heaven that you accept the identity being formed within you. Your crown is rising, your purpose is unfolding, your authority is awakening. Step into who you are. Heaven already has. Walking the new road feels unfamiliar at first. Not because it is dangerous, but because it is different from anything you have known before. You spent so long navigating shadows, enduring battles, and searching for clarity that the idea of walking a road shaped by alignment, identity, and divine guidance almost feels unreal. Yet heaven has been preparing this path long before you were aware of it. And now, as your footsteps move forward, the ground beneath you feels steady in a way it never did before. This new road does not require who you once were. It requires who you are becoming. The version of you that still carried insecurity, doubt, confusion, and emotional heaviness could not walk this path. But the version of you shaped by awakening, refined by battles, strengthened by revelation, and crowned with identity, that version is ready. Heaven never introduces a new road until the traveler is transformed enough to walk it. The words written in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 18 speak directly to this season. The path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day. This new road is a sunrise path. It does not reveal everything instantly. It does not flood your vision with overwhelming brightness. Instead, it unfolds gradually, softly, just enough clarity for the step in front of you. Then a little more for the next. Heaven knows that if you saw everything at once, you might misunderstand the journey. But through gradual illumination, you learn to trust, to walk, to breathe, and to grow without fear. You may notice that walking this new road feels strangely peaceful. Not because challenges disappear, but because your spirit no longer interprets challenges the same way. What once triggered anxiety now awakens discernment. What once felt like an obstacle now feels like instruction. What once discouraged you now refines you. This shift is not accidental. It is the fruit of alignment. As you walk, you begin to understand that the new road is not simply a change of direction, it is a change of dimension. You are no longer led by external noise, but by internal clarity. You are no longer moved by fear, but by conviction. You are no longer distracted by the temporary, because your focus is anchored in what is eternal. This new road also brings new responsibilities. Heaven trusts you now with insight you did not have before. Your discernment grows sharper. Your awareness deepens. You begin to sense when something is not aligned even before evidence appears. You begin to feel heaven's nudges, soft, subtle, but unmistakable. This is how chosen ones walk, not by impulse, not by confusion, but by divine sensitivity. You will also notice that certain things fall away as you continue forward, not because you push them away, but because they cannot survive in the elevation you are rising into. People who were part of your old season may not understand this new version of you. Habits that once comforted you now feel constricting. Environments that once felt normal now feel draining. Walking the new road requires leaving behind what cannot walk with you. This is not loss, it is alignment. The angels walk with you on this path. Their role has shifted from defense to direction. They are not simply shielding you from attacks, they are guiding your steps. Heaven does not waste its resources on someone who is stagnant. The movement of angels around you is proof that you are moving forward. The new road also teaches you something essential. Purpose is not a destination. Purpose is a posture. Purpose is the way you walk when you know heaven is with you. You walk differently now, steadier, lighter, more aware of divine timing. You are no longer rushing to arrive or desperate for answers. You trust the process because you trust the one who designed it. This confidence is not arrogance. It is spiritual maturity awakening inside you. And with each step, you begin to realize that this new road is not only changing your life, it is changing you. The fears you once carried are losing their voice. The heaviness that once weighed down your heart is dissolving. The confusion that once clouded your decisions is clearing. The more you walk, the more the path aligns with who you are becoming. Heaven smiles upon every step you take because this road was crafted for you, not in your brokenness, but in your becoming. You are no longer navigating survival, you are walking into assignment. And though the road ahead may twist, turn, or surprise you, one truth remains constant. You are walking with heaven, and heaven is walking with you. The chosen one revealed is not a future version of you. It is the version that has been rising within you for every step of this journey. Heaven has watched your unfolding from the beginning, long before you recognized your calling or understood your battles. And now, in this moment, the angels see clearly what the enemy feared from the very start. You are stepping fully into the identity heaven wrote for you. This revealing is not about becoming someone new. It is about remembering the strength that was buried beneath years of survival, remembering the clarity that was hidden beneath layers of fear, remembering the purpose that remained alive even when your hope dimmed. The chosen one is not a title, it is a realization, a knowing, a spiritual recognition that your life was never random, that your battles were never meaningless, that your endurance was never unnoticed. Everything you lived through shaped you for the exact season you are stepping into now. The words written in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 30 remind you of this truth. Those he called, he also justified. Those he justified, he also glorified. Heaven does not call lightly. Heaven does not justify without purpose. And heaven does not glorify what it does not intend to elevate. You have been called not merely to survive, but to transform. Not merely to hope, but to rise. Not merely to believe, but to become. This revelation of who you are unfolds quietly, yet powerfully. You feel your spirit standing taller. You feel your mind growing clearer. You feel your heart anchored in ways that once felt impossible. The version of you who once questioned everything now begins to trust the unseen. The version of you who once shrank back now steps forward with resilience. The version of you who once doubted your worth now recognizes your spiritual lineage. Heaven did not choose you because you were strong. Heaven chose you because you were willing to rise again, willing to listen, willing to shift, willing to grow. That willingness, combined with divine calling, is what makes a chosen one. This identity does not mean perfection. It means alignment. It means walking with heaven even when the path is unclear. It means trusting divine guidance even when you do not see the full picture. It means standing firm in truth even when circumstances shake. And now, as the angels watch your unfolding, they recognize you not as the wounded one, not as the lost one, not as the confused one, but as the one who chose light over shadows, truth over lies, purpose over fear. Revelation becomes your atmosphere. Peace becomes your companion. Strength becomes your foundation. Discernment becomes your language. You begin to feel heaven's nearness in a new way, not just during battles, but in moments of quiet. You sense guidance before decisions, for you notice divine timing in unexpected situations. Your spirit recognizes confirmations with ease. This is not coincidence, this is identity awakening. The chosen one does not walk like others. You walk aware. You walk aligned. You walk with the weight of heaven's intention on your steps. This identity influences everything: how you speak, how you choose, how you interpret your surroundings, how you respond to challenges. You understand now that every battle that once threatened you actually prepared you. Every dark season that once confused you actually refined you. Every closed door that once hurt you actually redirected you. The chosen one revealed is not merely stepping into destiny, you are stepping into reflection. Reflecting the strength heaven placed within you, the clarity heaven restored in you, and the authority heaven entrusted to you. And as this identity settles into your spirit, you realize something profound. You are not simply moving into the next chapter. You are the next chapter. You carry the shift. You carry the awakening. You carry the light that once pursued you. What heaven sees in you is now becoming visible to you. The chosen one is not rising. The chosen one has been revealed. Your spirit now carries a quiet radiance, the kind that does not beg to be noticed, yet cannot be ignored. Heaven's recognition settles over you, reshaping the way you see yourself in every step ahead. The weight you once feared becomes the strength you now carry with ease. What felt overwhelming in past seasons transforms into spiritual confidence, guiding you with an inner certainty no darkness can imitate or diminish. And as your identity solidifies, the path before you responds, clearing, brightening, aligning. You walk not as one searching, but as one appointed, unveiling a destiny that recognizes your arrival at last. Before you step away from this journey, take a moment to feel what has settled inside you. Something awakened, something aligned, something strengthened. And if these words have walked beside you, lifted you, or helped you see yourself more clearly, then you are gently invited, never pressured, to let this light continue its path. You may choose to like, share, or subscribe, not as a task, but as a soft ripple of light reaching someone who silently needs what you found here. Sometimes the smallest action becomes the lantern that guides another soul through their own night. And if your heart has been moved, if you felt clarity return, or if this message became a quiet companion during a difficult stretch of your road, then you are welcome only if it feels beautiful to you to donate. Not as payment, not as obligation, but as a tender offering of gratitude. Think of it like this. A well in the desert doesn't demand anything from the traveler who drinks from it. But sometimes a traveler grateful for the water leaves behind a small cup, so the next weary soul won't have to cup their hands. Your support is that cup, simple, voluntary, meaningful. But even if you never give anything, the well remains open for you. And if you wish to leave a final imprint of your presence here, you may comment something as gentle as "still rising," a small whisper of identity, a quiet echo of your journey. Whatever you choose, know this. Your path is honored, your spirit is seen, and your rising matters.